So, I have no good music at the moment. Just waiting for everybody to get back on. Alright. Hey, Miss Debbie. Alright, so I had to restart this thing. Sorry about that. I'm just waiting for a few more folks to come on in. Come on in. Let's have a conversation, everybody. Let's talk. I got a lot to talk about. I don't plan on keeping you guys here too long. I appreciate you spending your Sunday afternoon with me. And I tell you what, I'm sorry I had to restart this over. Apparently, Facebook doesn't like the fact that you play some music right before your video. So they said that I had no permission to do this. So anyway, so that's why we restarted. So welcome everyone, and I just want to say a big welcome to a lot of the new friends that I have on Facebook that have requested friend requests over the past week. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to visit my page. I do try to share a lot of good information with folks, and been working on this for about 2 years. But let me tell you guys a funny story. I think I've said this before. I'm out in the cage, so it's kind of chilly, so my nose is running a little bit. It ain't COVID. So anyway, when I was younger and I was in kindergarten, I got put in the corner a lot. Do y'all have any idea why I got put in the corner all the time when I was in kindergarten? Well, it was because I talked too much. So, what I wanted to do today was talk to you guys because I missed you. I was in Facebook jail yesterday. Thank goodness it was only for 24 hours, but who knows? I think the next infraction is 3 days. So, anyway, but yeah, so I figured I'd come on here and say hey, have a good conversation. If you guys have questions about things that are going on in the world right now, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to give you my opinion on it. Let me preface this video with saying that a lot of the things that I do share are my opinion. I base it off of the research that I've done, and so, you know, take it for what it's worth. All I'm trying to do is help, and that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years, is trying to help expose the lies that mainstream media says, the lies about everything that they want to push, and also how the government is so corrupt that people really actually, and even me, have no clue how corrupt this government and actually governments across the world are. So we're going to touch on that a little bit today as well. But the first thing I wanted to let you guys know is my social media presence. I'm waiting for Truth Social to come out. I am an Android user, and so we have to wait for that to come out. Devin Nunes said the other day that they have started with the iOS phones, then they're going to go into a web application, and they'll have a wraparound for the Android users to where they can actually, I guess, download that web page and have it on their phones, and they can utilize Truth Social that way. Eventually, it will be rolled out to the Android users, and so we're looking forward to that. Devin Nunes said that hopefully by the end of March, they will have Truth Social up and running completely. So we'll see how that goes. Everybody knows when you launch something new, it takes a while to work out the bugs in it. So what I will be doing is I will be taking everything that I do on my Facebook page and moving it to Truth Social. I will keep Signal as a backup. I use Twitter and Telegram to get information from. I don't do a lot of posting on Twitter and Telegram, but like I said, that's where I get a lot of my information from. But the majority of my work will be moving to Truth Social. The reason why? Well, I got put in Facebook jail yesterday. And I think as time goes on, we're going to see a lot more censorship. I have been seeing a ramp up of the censorship in Facebook over the past 3 or 4 weeks. And we've got to ask the question, why is that happening? I'll touch on that in a little bit as well. Hey Zamia, hey Debbie, Hey, Lisa. Hey, Danny. Hey, everybody. I'm glad y'all could make it. So what I want to touch on first is information to the Alamance Burlington school system. We did get masks optional for the students in the classrooms last week. The school board did vote on that. Y'all have seen the video that I did on that. But just found out last night that the CDC came out with new guidelines on Friday evening saying that masks basically shouldn't be needed on the buses. So a few of us parents sent some information to a couple of school board members. We had said that we were going to bring this up at the school board meeting tomorrow, but we don't have to because the Alamance Burlington school system has put out an announcement saying that masks are now optional on the buses. So yay, our kids don't have to be subjected to that face diaper anymore. And like I said, they did make it optional for those that feel comfortable wearing it. So at least we've got our freedom to choose back. That's a good thing. So a lot of folks have asked me about, hey Mandy, a lot of folks have asked me about me running for school board. I thought about it and I think I would do pretty well with it. But here's my thinking right now. I've been on a mission for the last 2 years to get information out to everyone. And I just feel right now that my job in that is not done. I do believe that 2022 is going to be a very crazy year information-wise. Hey, Guillermo. Hey, Chris. And so I've decided that I'm not going to run for school board yet. I don't think the timing is right. I need to get more knowledge on things that they discuss and what they do. But what I will do is I will keep fighting the school board against indoctrination that they're using on our kids. I appreciate that, Cindy. Yeah, I thought about it too. You never know. That could happen. We'll see. Never know. That's a family decision we have to make. So anyway, I'm going to keep fighting as a political activist, as a activist against indoctrination. And so I guess my next step that I'm going to be focusing on is getting CNN 10 out of our district. I had a message from one of the students. I think it was Saturday. No, it was Friday. And she was saying that she's been watching it since she was in the 8th grade. I think she's in the 11th grade now. And she says, Jimmy, it does lead us to go watch this regular CNN. She said it does give us, news, but it's geared towards the liberal leanings. So apparently this CNN 10 has been something that's been around for a while, and it's being shown to all the schools in the United States. So I'm going to start my fight against that. I'll do more research on it, and go to the school board with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep fighting with what I'm doing now. I'm going to keep being a digital soldier, and I'm going to keep speaking out at the school boards because I think I can have more of an impact that way, because my goal is to help teach people, help them to critically think about things, and I don't think my job is done yet in that regard. So once the war is done, maybe later I'll think about school board or something else a little bit higher than that. So I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me and letting me know that, hey, Jimmy, you should run for school board. Well, I really do appreciate that, but timing's not right. So now let's talk about what's really true. I do have notes. Kind of want to stay on track. So what's really true? Right now there is so much disinformation out there on the internet. I'm going to be touching into the Ukraine thing in a little while, but there's so much disinformation out there, and what I want to let my viewers know and my followers know, that I do everything I can to make sure that what I post or what I talk about is true and honest. Now, as I've said in a couple of my posts, there's going to be a couple of times where something may slip my radar and I might have to retract it, remove it, or let you guys know, hey, this is what the real story is. Kind of like what we did today on a video, that said it was posted by the WEF, or it was put out by the WEF, World Economic Forum, but it was actually from a movie called Utopia. So I want you guys to know that I do my very best, and if you see something on one of my posts that's not correct, please respectfully come to me and just let me know, hey Jimmy, this is what I found, you may want to look at it, because all we are trying to do is help one another. Help one another find the truth about what's really going on out there in the world. And right now, this is an information war, and it has been ramped up tremendously. We can see that on social media, especially with the information coming out from Ukraine. So how do we combat disinformation? We have talked about it before on the roundtable, on the Critically Thinking Outside of Watchtower episode. Look at the source, look at the author of the article, look at the organizations that are putting it out, find out who their sourcing is, what leanings they have, and that does help you get a better idea of what kind of information is legit and what's not. Now, I've had a couple of folks come to me, and some of my haters and my trolls, well, Jimmy, you told me this and you told me that, and this didn't happen and that didn't happen. And I'm like, okay, all right. So here's the deal. In a war, things change. Your plans change. How many times have you set out to go on a trip, and you go on that trip and you wanted to be there in a certain amount of time, come to find out some unforeseen occurrences happened, you got a flat tire, or a road was closed, or the road was backed up, and your plans changed. You know, we do that in everyday life. You know, when we wake up in the morning, we have a plan for that day, and sometimes things happen that changes your plans, but doesn't change your goal. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with everything going on. This is a worldwide information war. There's so much crap going on that there are twists and turns to this. So if I was said something, you know, that I thought was going to happen 3 or 4 months ago and it didn't happen, doesn't mean it hasn't happened yet. Just means it hasn't gone public. And so just keep that in mind, my haters and my trolls, that sometimes things change. So there's that. Yeah, so now let's talk about this information war, and let's talk about CV. Do you see it on the news anymore? No. They have quickly transitioned from the CV narrative over into the war in Ukraine narrative. Now, here's what we got to figure out. Why are they doing this? Why are they getting rid of the CV narrative? Well, there's been so much information that has come out that has basically shot a hole in the CV narrative. We know that masks don't work. We know that the PCR test is faulty. We know that they had patents on the vaccines. And we also know that there's going to be a lot of information that comes out over the next 6 months concerning Pfizer and how they've had to release 350,000 pages of information that they tried to suppress for 75 years. Judge ruled against that, and I think it's this Friday the first 10 pages are released. So the reason why you're seeing this stuff in Ukraine right now all over the news is because they want to suppress this information. As a matter of fact, that is why I got put in Facebook jail yesterday, is because I put something out about the mRNA changing the genomes in the DNA, something like that. So keep an eye on the information coming out about the vax, about the mask, about the everything. Keep an eye on it, because that information is still coming out, but they're trying to bury it. This is what the mainstream media and these globalists do. They create a crisis, they scare everybody with it, they try to get to their certain point in their agenda, and then when they realize the jig is up, then they got to have a new crisis to cover up for the old one. This is what they do. And they're doing it right now. You know, you think about it, before CV hit, we had all the election stuff and the riots and Antifa and BLM, and you know, that was all in the news. And then CV came in, And then after they got exposed on that, they got to bring in the war. So the biggest thing to understand is how these people operate. And so after the information comes out on Ukraine where there's a lot of fake information and it's not what the media was saying, they're going to move to another crisis. I'm telling you right now, that is going to happen. We still have riots on deck. We still have cyber attacks on deck. Who knows? They also talked about trying to introduce a new pandemic. And as a matter of fact, if you look on my page, I put something up there about Operation Dark Winter. You know, we know Biden said that this was going to be a dark winter. Well, okay. Have you looked that up in Wikipedia? I'm just going to say Wikipedia for those that, you know, that's what they go to. Have you looked up what Operation Dark Winter is? When you do, think about this. Bill Gates came out, last week or so, and said that there may be a new pandemic. And he's also mentioned smallpox, a smallpox attack in an airport. You know, he's mentioned that on an interview. Well, if you look up Operation Dark Winter, that it was the code name for a 2001 exercise that they did that was centered around a smallpox outbreak. So, you got that. So, what a lot of people don't really stop to think about is when you're listening to these people, listen to the phrases, listen to the words that they use, because half the time they're telling you their plan right there. And, you know, they're just hoping that the American people aren't smart enough to figure it out. Okay, so take a little break. Let's see what we got. News media is no longer talking much about COVID. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Mandy, that's exactly what they're doing. Yes, Miss Debbie, Wag the Dog. I do want to mention this. 1997, there was a movie put out called Wag the Dog. The story behind it was there was a political candidate. He might have been president at the time. I can't remember. But there was a sex scandal that was hurting his campaign or hurting his administration. So they had to come up with something to distract people from that. And that's why they created a fake war. All right. Go check that movie out. We know that they tell us a lot of things in the movies. There's a lot of clues in the movies, in the music, in the TV shows. So you just got to know what to look for. Yes, Shirley, Wikipedia is controlled too. I don't like Wikipedia because I know of their leanings, but that's what a lot of people go to. So sometimes they have some decent information in there. Hiding in the garage. See, this is yeah, Jim, I'm actually in my cage. This is where I store all my yard equipment. Carissa's inside. I didn't want to be inside and have the dogs barking and everything, so I came out here to my cage. All right, so far, are there any questions on disinformation, the CV narrative, any questions on my social media stuff? I'll just take just a second to see if anybody comes up with a question, then I'll continue on. Coffee. It's really good. No questions? Okay. All right. So let's continue on. Let's talk about Ukraine. Now, the first thing I will say is I put up a post today talking about devolution. I may have to do a separate video and talk about what that is, but I did put a link on there. It's actually been done by a guy, his code name or his, I don't know what username is called Patel Patriot. This guy has a lot of information. He worked in government. He knows a lot of stuff about behind the scenes things, and he's done a series. He's been working on it for a while called the Devolution series. And it will explain a lot of stuff that we see going on. When I tell you guys that there's a bigger picture, there totally is a bigger picture to everything going on. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to see that because they just want to listen to the media. But he put out a part just here recently called Part 17, and it's on Ukraine. For Freedom trucks to DC. Socks. I don't. What? What are you saying, Debbie? Anyway, so he put out an article on Ukraine, and I was scrolling through that today, and I'm telling you what, it made my brain hurt because there's information in there going back to the banks that are involved in Ukraine, the globalists that are involved, the geopolitical connections to everything, and it basically explains why we're seeing what we're seeing. Now, for those that do follow me, they know that I talk about the deep state and the globalist. Ukraine has been a hotbed, almost a central station for the deep state globalist operatives. You've got 4 sitting Congress people that have sons on boards at the gas station. You got Mitt Romney, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden's son Hunter. Who was the other one? Pelosi, Romney, Biden. Oh Jesus, who's the other one? God, I can't think of it right now. Maybe somebody on it. But there's 4 where their sons are on the boards of gas companies. Now, you tell me what kind of experience that these people have being on gas companies. They have no experience at all. So Ukraine has been used as the funneling mechanism for their money. There's also Bush. I don't think it was Bush, Tracy. It was somebody else. God, I can't remember who it was. Anyway, but like I said, the other thing that they've been using over there, they have 11 United States biolabs. These labs are very similar to the lab that is in Wuhan. And who knows, maybe they were going to be using one of these 11 U.S. biolabs to release the smallpox that they have talked about as being the new pandemic that was coming. So hopefully, from what I know right now, I know of that they've taken out 7 of those 11 U.S. biolabs. And so that's a good thing. I think I've seen a report that says they've actually taken them all out, but we'll wait and see. So this is what I believe. This is what I believe. Okay, this is my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Don't come at me with hate. Okay, so I believe that the deep state has set up their operations in the Ukraine. They use all these different organizations to funnel money to other places throughout the world, to fund their foot soldiers, fund whatever else they need to fund. Now, if you look back on the history of this, John Kerry, thank you, Susie, that's who it was, John Kerry's son. Thank you. So, back in 2014, there was regime change in the Ukraine. The deep state globalist set up a puppet in that regime, and he was doing the bidding for them, doing the bidding for the deep state. If you look back if you go back to Crimea, everybody talks about, well, Russia invaded Crimea. No, that's not technically true, because the Crimean people did vote to be with Russia. You won't hear that on the mainstream media because they want to paint Putin as this very awful man. That's a whole different story there. We'll get into that in a second. But, so yeah, Crimea was not invaded. They actually voted to go back with Russia. There's more to that story as well. I'll find a video that I watched last night that kind of explains the importance of the Black Sea and the port there and the pipeline that the Ukraine was wanting to move. They were wanting that pipeline to go through the Ukraine, and that was actually stopped, and Russia actually put it around the Ukraine. So there's a lot more going on than what the media is telling you. Now, Tracy, yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for Putin being a Freemason, Luciferian. I can't speak to that. But what I do know about Putin is, because some of his statements that he's put out over the years, is he despises the deep state. He kicked the central banks out of Russia. He actually banned the Jehovah's Witnesses from being in Russia, which I felt like was a great thing to do. He wants nothing to do with the deep state globalist. And this is why he keeps getting attacked. This is why Watchtower is always, blaming Russia as the king of the North. It's always Russia, Russia, Russia. Remember, in an information war, you have to have an enemy. You have to have the big scary boogeyman so everybody can rally around and go after the big scary boogeyman. Well, from what I believe and from the research that I've done, I believe that Putin is working with, I'm just going to call it the White Hat Alliance, and Trump is involved too. I believe they're working together to, quote, drain the swamp in the Ukraine. Now, people are saying, well, Putin invaded Crimea. Well, you got to look at what an invasion is and what a military operation is. Okay? So, an invasion would be him taking all his massive amount of troops and going in and just leveling everything and destroying everything. That would be an invasion. But what Putin is doing, from what I see, is he's going in and hitting military targets of the deep state. Debbie, I'll answer that question in a second. So he's going in, he's hitting the biolabs, he's hitting the airfields, he's hitting their money source, the gas that they do have out there. Now, the reason I say this is because this was done already in Syria. Right before Trump came into office, do you remember Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria? Do you remember what the media was saying about him? He was the big scary boogeyman at the time. Well, Bashar al-Assad did not like the deep state globalist either. He did not want that in his country either. So what happened around that time? What was going on? Well, we had ISIS growing. We had ISIS moving their way across Iraq over into Syria. Okay? And the military was our U.S. military was trying to do what they could to, squash that advance. However, who decided that he was going to be calling the shots of the military? That would be Barack Obama. So Barack Obama was basically telegraphing his moves so that when the United States struck, then the ISIS wasn't there. They got away. So ISIS actually grew because of what the Obama administration was doing. They were basically protecting them because ISIS were the foot soldiers of the deep state in that area. Now, once they got into Syria, what did ISIS started to do? They started to take oil tankers and run them into Turkey. And then Bashar al-Assad asked Putin, hey, can you come in here and help us out? So that's when Putin got involved and started taking out these oil tankers that were going into Syria. They were cutting off they were cutting off the funnel of their money, the flow of their money. And so then when Trump got elected, then he joined in with Putin and Bashar al-Assad to take out ISIS. And they did it by these airstrikes, taking out these oil tankers. And that if they don't have the funding, how can they continue their operation? So that was apparently successful because we don't see ISIS over there anymore. That's not a problem. And you don't hear anything about Bashar al-Assad anymore in the news. If he was this big bad boogeyman, then why aren't they still talking about it? Think about it. So the same thing is being done here in the Ukraine. They are taking out, from what I see, and if I'm ever wrong, I'll come back and do a video and retract every damn word I said. But they are taking out these military sites of the deep state, and we also have deep state soldiers in the Ukraine, people that are loyal to these globalists. And so they do have foot soldiers, just like with ISIS, just like with Antifa. They are all foot soldiers of the globalist movement, if you want to call it a movement. So these will be the ones that will be fighting against Russia coming in. And these are the ones that are hiding in neighborhoods, in apartment buildings. Remember, they did that in the Middle East as well. They would take ISIS and they would go into neighborhoods and they would hide themselves in there so that if they were attacked, then oh my goodness, then you got civilians killed. Then they can take that and spin it and air it all over the news and say, oh, they're killing civilians. Can you see what I'm talking about here? So, as this news comes out from the Ukraine, the things that you see on the TV, the crying, the weeping, I'm sorry, a lot of it, it's all fake. It's all fake. Goes back to Wag the Dog. And I watched a live shot from a CNN reporter, and he was in front of a green screen. I mean, the cameraman backed out, and you could see the markers on the floor. You could see the curtain on the left. We use a green screen at the round table, so I know what it's like. So I know what to look for when someone is using a green screen. So. And then there was another picture of two guys holding what was supposed to be an AK-47, and they don't look like a real gun. So just remember right now, propaganda is flashy. People are going to be drawn to it. How long does it take for the truth to come out about a situation? Usually 3 to 6 months, sometimes sooner. But the way things are going now, I think information is getting debunked a lot quicker than it has been in the past with the ability, with the internet, and with so many digital soldiers, so many journalists looking at everything. We can pretty much debunk stories a lot quicker than we used to be able to before. So just be careful about what you share on social media. You could be inadvertently passing on misinformation. That happens, okay, because there's a lot of it. So, like I said, Ukraine, I got a feeling in about 2 weeks this is going to be out of the news. We'll see how it goes. So, let's see. Any questions on what I just said about Ukraine and all that? Let me scroll back down here. Look up history. Remembers the Skull and Bones, deep state are involved. Yes. There was a question from Debbie. She asked me how many countries were affected by the deep state. Let's put it this way, Miss Debbie, there's a lot, because it always goes back to the money, the central bank systems, and these started with the Federal Reserve. Well, actually started with the Bank of London, then went into the Federal Reserve. But they try to put their tentacles into as many countries as they can. The last report I saw, there was like 190 countries that had this central bank system in there. And, oh, by the way, while everybody was paying attention to Ukraine, there was also military airstrikes in Somalia, Yemen, and I think Israel fired on Syria. Those 3 airstrikes were done the same night that Ukraine, quote, Russia invaded the Ukraine. I hear from Putin is going to go after Israel. Any thoughts? Yes, I do believe that Israel's, from the posts that I've seen, we've been told that Israel has been saved for last. Now, I don't really know what all that means, but yeah. I think next on deck, I think you're going to see Taiwan first, because I think I don't know much about it. This is just me speculating, so this is complete speculation on my part. I think the situation with Taiwan and China is the same situation with Ukraine and Russia. I could be wrong. So I should see who's not with central banks. Yes, Miss Debbie. Yeah. And if you look back in history, Miss Debbie, Iraq didn't want central bank system in their country. What did they do to Saddam? Libya didn't want the central bank system in their country. What happened to Gaddafi? And there's been many, many members of African countries that did not want central bank systems in their countries, and they've mysteriously died or something happened. They were taken out. So, like I said, when I say there's a bigger picture, there's a much bigger picture. All right, Great Reset, New World Order, Lucifer's Agenda, all stated in the Georgia Guidestones. Yes, Tracy, you're absolutely correct. Gog and Magog prophecy. I don't know much about the Gog and Magog thing. That always confused me. That's what I was thinking too. Okay, so just one little last bit on the Ukraine, kind of mirrored what they did in Crimea. There were two regions, Donbass and Luhansk. I don't know the name of the L word, but those two countries have been trying to separate from the Ukrainian government since 2014, and they were not getting the help. The people were being killed in those areas, and so they wanted their independence. And if you look back on, I think it was Monday, Putin did recognize their independence from the Ukrainian government. And when I say Ukrainian government, I'm talking mainly the deep state puppet masters that are, or the puppets that are there. So that's why Putin said he was going to send peacekeeping forces into those areas. So he's not invading Ukraine. He's sending peacekeeping forces into those two areas. And then from the outside, he's taking out the military strategic sites that are helping those globalists over there. So go to my Facebook page, look up Devolution. I think I got it where it says dig, dig, dig. There's a picture of Trump and a few other folks there. And look for part number 17. That's kind of funny. Those who know. But go look at part 17 and look there. There's tons of good information backed up with documents, facts, dates, evidence. It's all there. Okay, that takes care of that. So that's kind of basically what I wanted to talk about today, was the whole Ukrainian thing, the disinformation, being careful with that. I wanted to let you guys know about my social media. But please understand, let's see, what Biden cutting off the Keystone oil? We are now dependent on Russia's oil. Oh, you know what? Let me comment about that real quick. You see all these people out there dumping the Russian vodka? You see all that crap? You know what that's called? That's called virtue signaling. You know, you're dumping out all this vodka. ABC stores are taking Russian vodka off their shelf, but yet the United States imports, what was it? Oh my God, I can't remember the number. 20 million barrels of oil a day? I can't exactly remember how many barrels of oil a day that they import from Russia. So if there's such a problem, then with Russia, why are we still importing their oil? Huh? Why? But yet you got people going on social media thinking they're all big and bad and virtuous because they're dumping their vodka out. I'm sorry. That's just stupid. Okay? It's just stupid. So, anyway. All right. Anything else on that you guys want to discuss? I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. So, I went back and I looked at, I need to go back and finish watching the last episode we did on the roundtable, because there was a couple of spots in there where I said that I needed to do a video about that. So I do have some videos planned that I'm going to be talking about the reason why the pandemic came into play, what it was really used for, and how they used that to violate the United States Constitution and rig the election. All this information that we've been talking about that I've been talking about for 2 years, is starting to come out, and that's good to see. Let's see, stupid pouring the vodka. They already paid for it now. Yeah, exactly. It's stupid pouring out the vodka. It's the same thing as freedom fries. They got to build a narrative, and that's exactly what they're doing. So anyway, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to look back in that video and see those points where I said I need to do a video on, and I do plan on explaining more. I think this is the reason why I felt like I'm needed to do what I do, because I want to help people. I want to help people to critically think. I want people to not live in fear. And I think with all the research, all the studying that I've done, listening to so many different outlets, I have learned so much stuff. And I feel like the majority of what I've learned has been honest information. It's been true information. Other people may not see it yet, but I look at events. I don't look at dates. And I think the reason why my mission is the way it is because people are eventually going to be hit with a lot more information that's going to blow their freaking mind. And I just feel like if I've got the information and I can explain to people what happened, that will help calm them down. That will help them understand what's going on. And this is why how reliable are your sources of information? I'll touch on that in a second, Miss Shirley. This is why I've pushed understanding, not getting in fights and arguments about every little detail that's out in the news. You guys know me and John, my co-host, one of my co-hosts on the roundtable, for those that are new to my channel. Me and him differ on quite a few things. Now, me and him want the same goals for humanity. We want the same things. There's just a couple of areas where we don't agree on. And what we've had to do is we've had to figure out how much stuff do we agree on, and then see what we disagree on. And then if neither one of us budges on that, we have to learn to respect each other's perspectives. And so John is one of my best friends. I call him my brother. And we are able to have excellent conversations, even if there's something that we disagree with. So for those trolls and haters who may be watching me right now, I'm willing to talk to you. I'm willing to have a good conversation with you. Don't come at me and saying that I'm stupid or I'm brainwashed or I'm gullible, especially if you haven't done the research. There's a meme out there that says if you haven't done the research, shut the F up, okay? But I'm willing to talk with anyone and help them out. Miss Shirley, how reliable are your sources of information? I've got two main sources that I use right now. I've got Tori Says, and I've got the X22 report, and I've got many different ones. And what I do, like I said, with the X22 report, when I first started watching him in March of 2020, I went back to his older episodes to see what he did. And a lot of the stuff that he did actually came true, and they were actually legit. So that's why I started watching him. And y'all know that I've put stuff out on my Facebook page, and then 6 months later, it happened. It came true. Y'all know I circle the dates, and I have the information there when I said it. So that helps me in knowing that the information I'm looking at is at least, legit, and it's on track. It may not be perfect, but at least it's on track. Actually, you do an amazing job. There's so much it's hard to say. People that have been following it for... Yes, Susie, that's another thing. There is a lot of information out there right now, and if somebody's just waking up, they have missed a lot of the story. So that's why I feel like it's important for me to do what I'm doing so that I can get the information, so when someone does wake up and they have questions, I can help them with that. So that's always been my goal. So, all right. Just don't live in fear, y'all. Live your life. Do what you need to do. I think better things are, I do believe better things are coming down the road. 2022 is going to be crazy. I've told y'all to buckle up and I wasn't joking. Okay. And if you haven't stocked up a little bit, at least stock your house up to where you have at least 2 weeks of supplies. Okay. And another thing, let me warn you guys, there's going to be a scare event. Okay? I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be a cyber attack and everything goes down. I don't know if it's going to be an incoming nuke. I don't know what it's going to be. But be prepared for a scare event. And when you see the news push something, remember, if it is designed to incite fear, It is propaganda. Please remember that. If it is designed to incite fear, it is propaganda. All right. So yes, something is brewing. If you haven't watched President Trump's State of the Union address last night, I say go back and watch it because it was full of comms and a lot of information in there as well, if you know what you're looking for. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who supports what I do. I appreciate and love you guys all very much. When I move over to Truth Social, I will put out an announcement, let you guys know all that, so we can all move. If you want to move over there, that way we can have free speech and don't have to get worried. You don't have to worry about getting put in Facebook jail. So my light is running out. My flashlights are dead. I need to plug them back up. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here. But I hope you guys have a great week. And just don't be fearful, okay? Everything is going to work out the way it needs to work out. Don't be scared, all right? And if you do get scared and you have questions and you start freaking out, please reach out to me. I'll help you out as much as I can. I love you guys very much. Take care. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. And let's keep fighting. Let's keep raising our voices. Don't ever stop fighting for your freedoms. Don't ever stop. I love y'all. Take care.